This is an Interface Death presentation.
Hi, I'm Justin with Interface Death, and in this video I would like to talk about a few things. I would like to touch bases on things I've already discussed in prior videos, which is the ghost box and the digital recorder and how they're involved in spirit communication. I'd like to go a little bit more in depth. I've learned a little bit more, I've collected a lot more data, and I'm able to shed a little bit more light on the mechanics of the spirit communication with those devices. Now, the ghost box. I have been staying on AM band the whole time that I, decided to stay on the AM band. And again, the reason for that is when the AM radio was first developed, they found out there was some problems with it. Storms would easily interfere with the signal and causing interference. Any type of electromagnetic disturbance would cause interference with the AM signal, just because it would change the amplitude of it. So you would get really bad interference when those type of things would occur. With that being said, that is why I use AM. The AM is more susceptible to modulation, so spirits can use it easier. Now, that doesn't mean that they cannot, influence an FM signal. It's just harder, and the reason it's harder is they actually have to change the frequency instead of the amplitude of the signal, and just based off of the mechanics of that doing such things, is proof of it being more of a process. So I use AM. I think that some devices work good on FM, and I know people that do spirit communication have good results scanning FM bands, which is fine. There's no right or wrong answer. Just in my opinion and my experience, I find that AM with this type of ghost box is better because of the obvious reason. If you are planning to do ghost box sessions with a device, don't switch back and forth. And the reason why you shouldn't change the way you do things is not only are you trying to hone the process of how you communicate, so are the spirits. The spirits have responsibility on their end to communicate. They have to modulate signals. They have to do what they do in order for them to come across on your devices. With that being said, you want to have very controlled, sessions. Use AM band all the time or FM band all the time. The spirits get used to you using the same methods, and over time they can get better and become more skilled at communicating with the methods that you use. So that's why it's very important that you use the same things. You only should change something if it's not working. If you're not getting on anything that come through very well on AM bands, you can try FM bands. It could be just because the entities that communicate with you want to communicate that way. So those are little things to think about. The antennas. I want to touch base on the antenna of your devices when you're using it. If you use your spirit box device with the antenna fully extended, you're going to get lots of radio signals. Not bad. The only thing bad is that you will have a lot more trouble determining if what you're getting is snippets of radio traffic or actual spirits communicating. That's why I retract the antenna all the way. Some people remove their antenna completely. I'm against that. I think that you need some antenna to actually pick up a signal, because I believe in my theory that they modulate already existing RF waves. So if you're not receiving anything at all, how do you expect a spirit to transmit anything over the radio? I mean, you're actually asking them to do spirit induction instead of spirit modulation at that point. They would actually have to induce electrical flow in your device to create noise. Now, doing that without a microphone, I'd like to see the mechanics involved in that. So keep your antennas hooked up, in my opinion. That way you can actually receive a modulated signal, but if you keep the antenna fully retracted, you can limit the amount of radio snippets that you get, and only the very strong things come across. And by doing this, I've got amazing results, and I'll let my ghost box sessions speak for themselves. But as far as communicating with this device, it's not only useful, it's effective. Okay, you can communicate with anything that has the ability to modulate, radio waves. It could be, actually deceased people. Their spirits could be actually communicating with you using the device, or there could be other beings on the same dimensional plane that these spirits exist that use the same methods to communicate. And this is where I want you to, use your head a little bit. You want to design your questioning to determine whether you're speaking to the actual person, or if you're speaking to a copycat, or you're speaking to a Mothman type entity. And what I mean by Mothman type entity, a Mothman entity is not a human spirit. It's, independent of an earth plane. It's completely detached. It never really existed on the earth plane. It may have, some significance to it, but it really isn't a denizen of the earth plane like humans are, and animals, and so on. So it likes to mimic human behavior. It likes to mimic other things, but it's going to know pretty much anything you ask it, and it has the ability to answer pretty much any question you would ask. And that's suspect of a Mothman entity, because I'm not sure that once you pass on that you're, all of a sudden have access to everything. I could be wrong. Now, spirits that cross over could have access to infinite amounts of information. But in my personal experience, earthbound spirits still retain their own memory, and they pretty much are blocked to universal consciousness flows. So that would indicate that being trapped really actually means that you're trapped. You really suffer from communicating with other spirits, being able to go into the light, being able to cross over, so on and so forth. Now, entities that are crossed over can still communicate. I've asked this, I've proven this on my sessions, so there's a wide range of entities that can come through on the spirit box. So keep that in mind when you're using a device similar to this. Try to craft your questioning and the things that you do in such a manner that help you determine what you're actually speaking to. That makes your research much better when it comes to spirit communication. All right. Let's see here. Entities. Like I said, there can be a wide range of entities that you can come in contact with. The first thing I want to talk about as far as entities are demons. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of theories, a lot of beliefs. Some people agree, some people don't. And I'm going to let you know pretty much what I think when it comes to demons. Demons aren't independent entities in whole. What I'm trying to say is, when you have one demon, you can have them all. the story of Mark chapter 5 will shed light on that if you're not familiar with that chapter and book in the Bible. It tells a story about Legion and how a man that was corrupted with an unclean spirit came upon Jesus and asked him to rid him of these unclean spirits. And when Jesus went to go do this, the unclean spirit demanded that it have a host. And strangely, Jesus pretty much, gave into its offer. It didn't just, rip the spirit away from its body and just let it go to the winds. He actually transferred the unclean spirits into a herd of swine, mountain swine to be exact. And that appeased the demons. And as they got transferred into the swine there then went into the sea, kind of like as a banishment. It was okay with being banished, but it wasn't okay without having a host. So there's some type of mechanic there underlined in the Bible, not directly conveyed, but I think it conveys that demons and possession go hand in hand. I think demons constantly seek out people to attach themselves to, and that's how they survive. Hold on. I don't know if that's how they survive, but I know that our earthbound plane has some type of significance when it comes to demon activity because of that. They have to bind themselves to something alive. So it's as far as I know. Okay, with that being said, never assume that you're just dealing with one demon. Now, I believe demons have agendas. I believe that, the whole legion of demons are not just going to randomly attach to somebody and then unleash their full power on this one person. I think they can act independently, but they're connected within a network. So that if the agenda is, to attack certain people, that fall under certain guidelines, by all means they can, call reinforcements and attach multiple demons to one subject. So, if you suspect demon possession or demon attachment or demon infestation or demonic infestation, however you want to say it, you always want to keep in the back of your head that they can call for backup at any time, and if you are aware of what their agenda is, you can better prepare yourself for the amount of force that the demon can deliver. Of course, if you're going to believe in demonic activity, you best believe in the other side of things is the power, God and Jesus Christ. Read the Bible, learn everything you can, find out how to protect yourself against demons. Demons are, a lot of people have misconceptions about them. They believe that God controls every single thing and God can protect them, completely from them. Let's brush that comment aside. God could not deal with them in the heaven realm, in the realm where angels exist and God exists. So he banished them to earth, okay? Not because he's God and he can just do whatever he wants, just because he didn't want to deal with them. It's almost like a peace treaty. Just think of the Indians. They weren't completely wiped out, and the white people couldn't completely control their land and the people without moving them to reservations. They still exist to this day. Yeah, they're dining out, and yeah, their bloodlines are getting, intermingled with white and other DNA strains, but they could not completely eradicate them. And that's what happened to the demons. A lot of them eradicated. The most powerful ones, including Lucifer, were banished to the earth realm, and this is where they stay until the end. Okay? So, with that being said, you need to respect the power of demonic forces. You need to realize that the power of God is not always going to save you from everything. If you are in over your head, sometimes God's not there to help you. You got to actually have some type of responsibility in the actions you take and what you do involving demonic activity. Moving on to other entities, guardian spirits, angels. Let's see here. Let's face it. There's a large array of entities that we could list, but probably most dominant ones are angels. And I want to call common spirits that are not from Earth or was not attached to a human body are kind of like animals as we look at it. There's naturally occurring beings that exist. You could say fairies, you can say whatever you want, but they exist, okay? They have intelligence. There may be different ways to communicate with them, but they do exist. I know my mother used to say that there was nature beings, which would kind of fall along with the fairy category, and they pretty much, exist to protect nature, to protect certain types of environments. Their realm and our realm seem to be coexisting in some way, but they're kind of hidden from our senses, our major senses as far as sight, hearing. But there's been plenty of reports that they've been seen, and I believe that they're credible when thinking about what type of entities that you may come in contact with when you communicate. Another topic I want to talk about is EVPs versus AVPs. There's several conflicting definitions of what an EVP is and what an AVP is. My definition of an EVP is that it's completely electronic in nature. It does not exist in the environment. It only exists on devices. Okay, hence the electrical voice phenomenon. Okay. If you get out a recorder, you hit record, you ask a question, you hit stop, you play it back, and you hear something that you did not hear with your ears, that is an EVP. Now, if you do everything in your power to amplify the ambient sound in your area as you're recording to make sure that there's no AVP or disembodied voice there actually causing it, you can roll out AVP. Now, what I do is I videotape every time I communicate, and I use multiple devices to record. Now, if you have the same voice on all three devices, it's an AVP. Okay? Rarely will a spirit communicate with you using EVPs on every device, because not only is that overkill, it doesn't make sense as far as my theories on how they use the devices to communicate. They would have to involve, multiple electromagnetic fields to induce those types of things. So that's how I roll out AVPs. Okay, if it's only on one device, EVP. If it's on all devices, you want to consider AVP. And what an AVP is actual voice phenomenon. Disembodied voices, things you can pick up with your own ears, anything like that. Now, the things I use to help determine AVPs is listening devices. I use a little earpiece to amplify sound, okay, and it's awesome to say the least. When I pick up things on my listening device, they're loud, okay? I immediately know that they're in the environment and not just an EVP on the device. So that can kind of help me in the way I communicate. It can help me in my research and how I study this type of paranormal activity. Another great way, and I strongly suggest that everyone do this, is If you have a headphone jack on your recorder, which I haven't seen one that hasn't had one, but if you don't have one, then I suggest you get one. But you can plug headphones into this as you're recording. You wear the headphones, you hit record, and you will actually hear what is going on to the device. Not what you're hearing with your ears, but what's going on to the device. And this is going to help you do a live communication. If you did not have the headphones on, you would not hear the EVP at the time it was captured. But with the headphones, you can. And this is very important when it comes to communicating, because not only can you respond to a spirit at the time they speak, you can get more information per session that way, and you can establish a better relationship with spirits when it comes to communicating. Because I have a feeling that spirits, it probably is irritating to spirits that you ask questions, you listen to them back just to determine what they're saying. They may not have the patience for that. It may hinder what you get. Just keep that in mind. Other ways is if you don't record video of your sessions, I suggest that you do. Not only is there another audio source, you can catch anomalies like orbs coming in and out of devices. I've seen that many times. I personally haven't caught that type of phenomenon, but I've seen it plenty of times. And it can happen. You definitely want to provide video of your sessions so people kind of have this evidence of how you operate during the session, and it just gives more credibility to your sessions. You know, no monkey business going on. This is what I'm doing. You can see what I'm doing. You can see the devices I'm using. You can see me turn them on, turn them off, etc. And it's a really good way to present the evidence as well. But yeah, those are definitely things you want to think about. The last thing I want to talk about is religion and spirit communication. And this is kind of touchy. Some people, straight up atheists, they just look at the science side of spirit communication. They strictly use devices. There is no spirit science at all. Now, there's the other side. Someone could be completely religious, whatever denomination, Catholic, Baptist, Presbyterian. It doesn't matter. If you're bound by some faith, and you still you want to inject that into your spirit communication, that is perfectly fine. I suggest that you, if you're not well versed in the Bible and other books of spirituality, do so. Not only is it part of your research, there is information in those books that can help you when doing this type of activity. Trust me, I'm speaking with experience. But my personal thoughts about religion isn't fully fleshed out. I believe in spirit science. I have a lot of stock in it. Crystals, ancient knowledge as far as Atlantis, pre-existing civilizations, you name it. I am hooked on the idea that we are just one little, blip on the screen, immersed into, a cycle of pre-existing and already existing cultures. I mean, I think we rise and fall and we're shut off from certain parts of our history and our knowledge because of natural disaster and other types of events happening to pretty much block us from sharing that information. I mean, you can look at a crater impact or a great flood or any type of natural disaster that could almost wipe out everything and pretty much put a huge hindrance on how we, log information, how we, store knowledge. With that being said, I use spirit science. I use quantum physics, string theory, and I use this common sense when it comes to communicating with spirits. I don't, you know, I believe in demonic activity. I believe in angelic activity. I believe, based on the data I've collected from my sessions, that there is a heaven, there is a hell. I'm not quite sure of the environment, how to, give a description of the environment. I haven't got that far, but spirits actually do tell me that there's a heaven, that there's a hell, that there's a God, that there's a devil, and that there is an in-between where people kind of, there's a transient area. People may be stuck there. Some people may choose to be there. Some people may travel back and forth in there or to have the ability to do so. So the idea of higher vibrations of existence is key to understanding how we're able to communicate with them using radios. All a radio is a vibration of, electromagnetic waves, either controlled by amplitude or by frequency. Okay? So that allows us to tap in to those type of environments, those extra dimensional environments, to where we can't physically go and talk to them personally. Now, as far as how this type of spirit communication affects my religious beliefs, is not yet fully understood. I do know that I need to not have such a large ego when it comes to not being afraid of certain things happening. I know I find myself a lot of times, chip on my shoulder, saying to people, well, nothing's going to hurt me, this ain't going to happen, why are you so afraid? But you cannot rely on luck. You can't rely on your guardian spirit to bail you out all the time. You can't even rely on God every single time, which sounds bad, but it's true. Sometimes it's all you. You're on your own. God gave us free will, and that's what he meant. There's stories in the Bible that tell when he came down to the earth and did certain things as far as punishment, as far as bailing someone out, so on and so forth. He has promised, just he's not going to do it. Okay? So the people that out there, grandma's sick with cancer in the hospital, they pray to God for her recovery. Nothing happens and she passes away. That has the ability to make people question their faith. That's bullshit. People need to wake up and realize that the mechanics of life and death that are clear, are easily understood, need to be universal. I hate the fact that churches are so spread out in their beliefs. There's so many denominations, so many versions of the Bible. That is a major problem with religion. They can't come together and have a consensus of what they believe and have a clear understanding of the mechanics of life and death and God and the devil. Too many interpretations. You really, really need to go on a quest to find out things for yourself and how things really are. And that's what I want to do in this video. I want to tell you what I think about things. I want to hear about what you think about them. I want to hear about your methods that you use for spirit communication. And I want you to let me know. Leave a comment, on this video. Contact me on my Facebook page. Let me know what you think about anything that I discuss. And that will help me, on my quest for truth. With all that being said, I want to wrap up this video and thank you for listening and thank you for taking the time to pretty much allow me to share my ideas. Like I said, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Get a hold of me on Facebook and we'll go from there. Thanks. Have a good day.